Christian Horner has always been the kind of figure Formula One tries to hide but never manages to bury. He reappears like a ghost, like a shadow glued to the steering wheel of history. And if anyone doubted that, all they need to do is look at the silent chaos that has taken over the paddock in recent weeks. Horner, the same man who led Red Bull for almost 2 decades, has returned to the rumor mill, backroom conversations, and of course, headlines that no one knows exactly where they came from, but everyone knows why they appeared. It is curious how F1 works. When a name becomes too heavy or when a story threatens to turn into a wildfire, leaks suddenly appear, so-called close sources start talking, and a festival of speculation begins that could make any investigative series look amateurish. And now, at the center of it all, stands Christian Horner, trying to resurface at the strangest possible moment. Him, the protagonist of the biggest recent governance crisis inside Red Bull, removed from his position, pressured by the Verstappen family, exposed by anonymous leaks, and yet always returning to the wheel of fortune. And the question no one can really answer is simple but powerful: is there truly a path for Horner to return to Formula One? Or is this all just smoke while the real fire is burning somewhere else? Today, we will talk exactly about that. The rumors that reignited the hypothesis of seeing Horner back in charge of a team and the silent moves that began after his name was linked to Aston Martin. A possibility that shook global media, stirred paddock politics, and made many believe that his return could be closer than it seems. The problem is that, just like everything in F1, whenever everyone thinks they know something, that is precisely when no one knows anything. Before, let me drop an important reminder. If you enjoy content that cuts through the noise and keeps you ahead of the Formula One narrative, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so the video reaches more Formula One fans. You make this community stronger. In recent weeks, certain details caught attention due to their almost surgical timing. First came the rumors that Andy Cowell could be on the brink of losing the position of Aston Martin team principal. Then came the information, dropped casually into the noise, that Christian Horner was the leading name to replace him. That alone was enough to ignite the paddock and turn the internet into a battleground between fans, critics, insiders, and opportunists. And this buzz did not happen at a random moment. Aston Martin is undergoing a deep restructuring, with Adrian Newey joining the team and Lawrence Stroll applying constant pressure to transform the team into a real title contender for 2026. In other words, it was the perfect stage for people to believe Horner might indeed be the missing piece of the puzzle. The thumbnail of this video captures that exact tension: Horner next to the Aston Martin logo, along with the inevitable question, back to Formula One? And for now, we will keep that question open. Because before answering it, we need to understand something bigger. What real paths remain for Christian Horner in the paddock? Which teams would actually accept him? And, most importantly, which team would dare to absorb the political storm that inevitably comes attached to his presence? To understand that, we need to revisit the recent moves inside F1 and examine a list that gets shorter every week, the list of teams that could still, in theory, open their doors to Christian Horner. And this is where the story starts to get more interesting. Christian Horner has always been a strategist, both inside and outside the track. But the game now is different, and the board is stacked against him. After his fall at Red Bull, he found himself in a limbo, unable to work until his gardening leave ends, while the available seats in the paddock vanish one by one. Ferrari? Impossible. Beyond political complications, his image does not fit with the team's post-Vasseur moment. Mercedes? Not even in science fiction. Toto Wolff would have to erase 2 decades of public rivalry. McLaren? Zak Brown would rather drive a car without wheels. Red Bull? Completely out of the question. And when you remove those names from the board, you realize how small Horner's world has become. What remains are Audi, Cadillac, still assembling its project, Alpine, and Haas. And of course, Aston Martin, at least in the rumors. Each of these teams would bring Horner a different challenge, and for all of them, Horner would bring a political cost that is anything but small. Audi is locked into a long-term plan and does not want noise. Cadillac wants to build its own identity, not absorb a legal soap opera. Alpine suffers from a chronic identity crisis and needs stability, not explosions. And Haas, well, Haas has indicated that talks did happen, but what Horner asked for was no small thing: a stake in the team, real authority, direct influence. And that leads us to the heart of this video: what exactly remains for Christian Horner? And why did his name come back so strongly, right now, connected to Aston Martin? Before we continue this investigation, let me ask you something essential. If you enjoy this kind of deep analysis, with dossiers, backstage politics, internal team conflicts, and all the hidden layers of Formula One that no one else shows you, then subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so this video reaches more Formula One fans. Here you understand the stories before they explode in the media. Here you spot the underground movements while the rest of the world is still catching up. If you're enjoying this video so far, click now and join us, because the heavy part of the story starts right now. Now that we have mapped the teams that could still, in theory, hire Horner, let's focus on the question everyone is asking: why did his name appear so strongly linked to Aston Martin? To understand this, we need to examine an explosive triangle: Horner, Newey, and Stroll. Adrian Newey left Red Bull after a deep political conflict with Horner. That is the version circulating in the paddock, and it did not come out of thin air. Their relationship deteriorated during Red Bull's internal crisis, and Newey no longer wanted to remain in the environment that emerged after the investigation. Now imagine this hypothetical scenario, and this is where speculation becomes fascinating. Stroll has Newey. Stroll wants to turn Aston Martin into a competitive beast for 2026. Stroll is willing to make aggressive moves. And for a moment, it looked like Stroll might try the unthinkable: bring Horner and Newey back under the same roof. But that comes with a massive problem. Before accepting Horner, Stroll would need to ensure that Newey would agree to share power with the man he is rumored to have split with. And this raises the real question: would Newey accept it? Or would that create an even more explosive conflict than the one with Cowell? This is where the story gains a theatrical tone. Because it was exactly at this moment that reports emerged claiming internal tension at Aston Martin and that Andy Cowell could be losing influence. Too much coincidence for something that doesn't look like a coincidence. And meanwhile, Horner was there, waiting. Silently. Watching the pieces move around him. The question remains: was this match truly close to happening? Was Horner really about to return to Formula One through Aston Martin? Or was it all smoke? If there is one lesson in Christian Horner's story, it is that the man knows how to survive. He fell from an empire, but he landed on his feet. He loses power, but keeps influence. He leaves through the door, but always leaves some part of himself inside the building. Which leads us to the central point: his return to Formula One will depend less on talent and more on politics, and politics is precisely the terrain where Horner has always been dangerous. At Audi and Cadillac, he would need to build everything from scratch with little tolerance for crises. At Alpine, he would face a bureaucratic storm that would destroy any chance of fast progress. At Haas, he would need to lead an almost total overhaul and deal with a limited budget. That's why Aston Martin seemed, to many, the ideal harbor: money, structure, Newey, ambition. But when a story seems too good to be true, it usually is. And now the truth begins to take shape. If you've reached this point, you already know stories like this are never simple. They require context, patience, and a whole lot of backstage analysis. So don't forget, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button so this video finds more Formula One fans. You strengthen our work and make sure these investigations keep reaching you before anyone else. All set? Then let's go to the final act and get ready, because it completely changes the narrative of the past few weeks. After all the speculation, strategic silence, rumors planted behind the scenes and headlines designed to fuel debate, the truth finally came out. Aston Martin announced the new professional who will take the position. And it is not Christian Horner. With that, the door that once seemed slightly open has now slammed shut. The question is no longer will Horner go to Aston, but instead, if not Aston, then where? Every week the options narrow. Time moves forward. Teams reorganize. And Horner remains still waiting for the grid to make room for him again. Maybe Audi. Maybe Cadillac. Maybe Haas. Maybe a hybrid role mixing sporting management with equity participation. Or maybe, there is no place for him in modern Formula One. One thing, however, is certain: Horner has not given up. And as long as he stays in the shadows, the paddock will remain restless. Because no one knows exactly where he will appear, and when he does, it will be to shift the entire game. In the coming months, the board will move. And when it does, you will see it here. Like the video, share it, and tell me in the comments, which team do you think Horner could realistically join? Because this story is far from over, it has only gotten more interesting. Tell me in the comments who you think about this. And if this video hits 10,000 likes, we'll post daily updates all the way to Abu Dhabi. The next days will define careers and maybe even rewrite Formula One history.